Hi there, I'm Christine with What's Up Cupcake Whimsical Crafts, and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about the PalmStreet selling app. If you are within the crochet maker sphere, especially within the United States, you've probably heard about this, as there are some very prominent makers that are taking advantage of this app and platform right now for selling. I had my first virtual live market on there, and I have some thoughts about the experience as a whole. So if you'd like to find out more about that, stick around because we are really going to dive right into the details of this. So first things first, PalmStreet is an app. There is a website that you can use as a seller to manage your storefront and your order processing, but the majority of the functions within PalmStreet, you have to use the app itself. So that would be on your phone or iPad or similar device. Personally, I don't love working solely from apps unless it's like looking at photos or things like that. I prefer to do more administrative tasks within like an actual computer where I can use a full keyboard and really navigate things. I'm sure there's hookups that you can do when people use their iPads and connect keyboards to them and all of that, but you are working with a smaller viewpoint when you're using PalmStreet. I think when you're a participant in a PalmStreet event and you're shopping the site, it is perfectly fine. But as a seller on the site, working solely from an app for me isn't ideal. And I can share a little bit about that experience as we get into this. But let's get into why I tried PalmStreet, because honestly, I've been seeing so much of it recently just in posts of other makers going to the platform and selling their products there or looking into it. Again, I believe this is only available in the US for the time being, but it's essentially a selling app where you can have a storefront and you can do live events where it reminds me a bit of the online selling when people were buying from LuLaRoe, where they're like holding up pieces of clothing or whatever and saying, all right, this is available, this is how much it costs, first person to comment gets it. But in the PalmStreet situation, you're clicking buy or you're bidding on an item or participating in an auction, things like that. So I was hesitant about that because I just don't love the concept of being the person that is running an event like that, just for my own personal like awkwardness and comfort levels. But I was getting some rejections to markets in the fall, and honestly, it was stressing me out a little bit because I really only have one market in August and another market in October at the time that I did my PalmStreet. I have since then, literally today, gotten into 3 more markets. So that's very exciting. But I was stressed about how am I going to continue with sales and moving my business forward if I don't have any markets. Etsy has been doing well for me for my crochet tools. So the amigurumi sticks, stitch markers, hand painted safety eyes, and the safety eye installers. Not so much for crochet, but I don't have a lot of crochet on there at the moment because I do feel like Etsy also is very saturated with crochet plushies and people selling them right now. I think that as we start to get into the fall/holiday season, that's going to be the time where I probably do load a few more plushies onto Etsy, because last year I did have success with the few items that I did put on there. But generally, coming from the perspective of crochet tools and things for crocheters, that's where I found kind of my niche within Etsy. So in talking to some friends, Tabs at Safari Stitches, Teresa from Alligator Goods, they really convinced me to just dip my toe in the water, of PalmStreet and give it a try, but with the caveat, more so because I have items that aren't just crochet plushies, of really leaning in towards that. Because what I was scared of from seeing some markets virtual on PalmStreet is that it would be too heavily saturated with crocheters pushing plushies and just not having the buyers for that. So, I had been looking through some of the lives that were offered, scrolling through the feeds within PalmStreet, and really had seen that there was potentially an opportunity for doing something other than just crochet plushies. I was still going to have crochet plushies, but I figured for my first market, like, we'll kind of do a whole wide variety of things. So that's why I decided to go forward with PalmStreet. I know Morgan from Alley Crochet has really been like the pioneer in PalmStreet. I think she was the first crochet plushie maker that really has had a ton of success on there. And this is just from my observation, so I don't know if that's true or not, but she has a lot of luck with PalmStreet, and I think it does really well for her, especially because of the way her audience engages with her in general. So on YouTube, she is regularly doing live chats with her audience and her followers, subscribers, where she is talking through the things that she's making as she's making them. She's doing polls for them. What should this look like? How should I make the facial features? What colors should I pick? And ultimately, those items then roll over a lot of the time into her live markets, or more so her PalmStreet. So I've attended her PalmStreets before, and they're a lot of fun. But she does have a very dedicated and loyal fan base coming from her YouTube and potentially Etsy and other locations that are interested in the items that she's selling, as many of them, like, they have stories and they have kind of characters associated with them from the fun, like, reels and videos that she does. So I think that she has maintained this very focused audience with her PalmStreet and has seen so much success for it. She also has posted tutorials about PalmStreet. I think that she is a huge part of why there are so many crocheters on it, because people have seen her success and are looking to replicate it. And I don't think that it's impossible to do, but I think that that's one of the things someone needs to consider when they're looking to go on to it. And, let me be clear. My first market on PalmStreet, my first live, was successful. And I'll talk about the details of that a little bit further along. But I just wanted to share some observations as I'm like going into my first market, attending some lives from people to familiarize myself, to make sure I know what I'm getting into when I do my first live. I'm hearing things about, like, do a game or do something that really engages people. And so I wanted to know what that looked like. So having attended a couple of Morgan's lives, they're really fun. She's very engaged with her audience. She is doing auctions. She's doing giveaways. Like, things are just constantly moving. I watched her video on how to set up my first PalmStreet live. It was super helpful. You can find that on her YouTube channel. And that was really great. But then also I attended one of her lives, and at the end of it, she kind of opened it up for questions from people about how to set up your live, kind of some of the tools that she uses. And some of those things I did actually implement in my first live. I learned from them, and I will do them differently, / probably more along the lines of what she was suggesting, but like, my brain was just trying to process it. And until I actually did it, I wasn't going to get it. So, huge thank you to Morgan for that pull into PalmStreet from the get-go and her tutorials. But really thank you to Tabs and Teresa from Safari Stitches and Alligator Goods, respectively, for like convincing me to make this leap and try PalmStreet. Because it was good, again, with some caveats of how I will do it going forward and how I'm going to kind of set boundaries for myself and adjust my expectations. So, I'd gotten some market rejections and was really frustrated about that. And I wanted to expand my reach a little bit more, because even if people aren't buying from me on PalmStreet, it's just more ways for me to get What's Up Cupcake out there to other people who might be looking for crochet tools, might be looking for unique, whimsical plushies, whatever it might be. So that's how I kind of thought I'd approach that. When you go through PalmStreet, if you haven't heard all of this before, it originally started as like a plant selling app. So people were selling plants that they propagated and things like that. I don't know the full details of it. Having killed many a houseplant, I'm probably not the authority of buying plants on the internet. But when you go through the feed of PalmStreet, I'd say that 70% of it is plants and reptiles. But I don't even want to get into that because I don't understand how that aspect works of like how you're transporting a reptile. From the 70%, I'd say 20% is crochet plushies. That's just from scrolling the feeds, and that's my rough guesstimate, but honestly, it is probably a little bit more than that. And then the remaining 10% is probably other collectibles, which I understand is starting to grow on there. So there's a lot of like Labubu's and mystery boxes and Pokemon cards, trading cards. I'm definitely seeing more of that within PalmStreet, but that's all just kind of my rough impression of what's going on PalmStreet in terms of like the breakdown of who's on there. And that being said, who is buying? So there's people that are on there for the plants. Are there people going on there to buy crochet and gifts as well? I feel like there are a lot of crochet enthusiasts who are crocheters on there, and they're going through and they're seeing some of their favorite creators on there. There's more people jumping in to become a seller on PalmStreet, but I don't know if they have the audience yet of buyers to really push a surge of the crocheters, like meeting the supply of crochet that's being put on there. There's a lot, and I think you really have to either differentiate the crochet that you're doing and find a way of like communicating that and conveying it in advance of your shows so that people attend them. But then also, I think that there's a lot of people who have a social media following or a presence, and they might be pulling some of their followers in. But like personally, I think a lot of the people that follow me are also crocheters. And I love to support other crocheters too. I have been on quite a few markets now where I have purchased crochet items from other crocheters. Sometimes it's because I want to support that person and it's something I absolutely did not need, wouldn't have normally bought, but I, really appreciate and admire the maker, and I want to kind of just show that through supporting their live. Other times it's something that I know I could make, but I don't want to. I'm too busy focused on stuff for my business, or it's something that's more complicated than I personally like to make, or it's a different medium or design or whatever it might be. Case in point, I got a dumpster fire crochet plushie from Alligator Goods from one of her lives. Her live was super fun. She had a really fun theme for getting ready for spooky season. She had an advent calendar, but it was a haunted house. And so it was like all 31 days, and you would pick different doors to open, and there were different prizes and activities and things like that that were part of it. So it was just a really fun experience. And as part of that, I was like, yes, I would like a dumpster fire because I see them all the time. I've seen patterns for them. I probably have at least one pattern for a dumpster fire. I have zero desire to make a dumpster fire. It's just not, I can tell that it would be too many steps for what I want to do between all of the other things I need to do for market makes. I'm just not going to ever make a dumpster fire. So I went ahead and just bought one from her, and I was happy to support a friend, and I'm excited because my dumpster fire came in the mail today. So we'll look at that later. But that was my experience in buying from someone on PalmStreet, being a crocheter myself. But like the likelihood of me going on there and buying more crochet items is pretty low. So, I think that's just something that needs to be acknowledged, because I've been on some lives where some of the hosts can seem a little, I don't want to say desperate, because that comes off very harsh, but honestly, it can be kind of accusatory of like, why aren't people buying things? Or you asked me to show you this, but now you're not buying it. I mean, like, I get it because you're on there doing all this work, but you also shouldn't be expecting the audience that's on there to be completely ready to buy some of these things just because they want something held up. I don't know. Like it feels icky to dive into this, but I'm just being very candid with my observations of participation in some people's lives. And again, I think part of it is that there are people who follow creators, admire these makers, and they attend them for support, but they're also not quite ready to like financially support. They're there to give them kudos, cheer them on, and they'll share the story and see if they can pull people in. But is there like an audience that's organically coming in as well? And I've heard that, PalmStreet's really pushing for more people to be sharing their stories and sharing their posts and drawing more people in to these lives and these events. But I think part of what we experience as makers within this space, we're followed by other makers and people who are trying to learn from our business journeys and things like that. So again, this is just my general speculation and my experience. And it's a very limited experience compared to some of these other makers. So, take it or leave it. I'm just sharing because I do see a lot of people rushing onto it or asking, like, should I go ahead and do it? And I don't think that you shouldn't, but I think that you need to adjust your expectations as to what you could be getting yourself into and thinking that you're just going to be having these $1,000 shows on PalmStreet because, there are these other large creators that are having successful shows regularly. Yeah, so those are my general thoughts about the platform and the audience within it. I did have a great first live show on PalmStreet, but my focus was very much on tools for crocheters. I brought quite a few plushies within there, and I also set up a ton of giveaways. And most of my giveaways, it's nothing really crazy. And you have to make sure that you're not losing money on some of the endeavors that you're doing and some of the things that you're offering. My giveaways, oftentimes, when I'm doing safety eyes, for example, it's safety eyes that I made, and the colorway was just one that I didn't make enough of, so I wasn't able to sell it because I wasn't going to have a collection for it. So I had some extra pairs of safety eyes that were great colors and that I thought people would like, but that I wasn't necessarily selling. Or I had sold out of all, but I had one pair left, and rather than wait for that one pair to sell, I put it into a giveaway. There are some others where I did have items that like I just said, yes, I'm going to pull these from inventory. I'm going to do these as giveaways to incentivize people to participate in my live, to view my live. That was really fun. And I think that it really kept people in my show. So I did giveaways primarily around, again, safety eyes. I think I did some stitch markers. I did one pair of amigurumi sticks. And I did some little plushies where, again, it's plushies that were either prototypes of something, or I did them for a test and I didn't make more of them, or whatever it might be, where I had some plushies and I basically had a basket. And from that basket, I let people pick, like, what should I put for a giveaway now? And people would say, do the frog. And so I would do the giveaway as the frog. The really cool thing about the giveaways is when you are hosting your live, you can pick what the criteria is for someone to enter the giveaway. So my criteria was often that they had been in the live at least 5 minutes and that they followed me on PalmStreet. So that was the majority of my giveaways. My final like big giveaway was a pair of amigurumi sticks. And with that one, I made it where you had to have made a purchase within the live, because it's something I can just throw into a box then of something someone has already ordered. And so PalmStreet, the app, automatically kind of filters who can enter and play in a giveaway based on them meeting various criteria. So that was cool. I did some auctions and some of them went really well and some of them didn't. I will say anything that feels like bliss, I feel like across the board, tends to be things that people are more inclined to pay a little bit more for. So I had like I had a B that I did in Feels Like Bliss. And I put that for auction and there was like a little back and forth bidding war and it went into the 20s for this B. And I've seen it on, again, LA Crochet's lives, like Feels Like Bliss. I know Avalon Crochet does a lot of Feels Like Bliss things. And I think those are probably the first things snatched up from her Etsy shop. So, you know, you kind of just have to have a feel for that, because on the flip side, I had some auctions that I put on there and I put them at the starting bid at like the lowest price that I would feel comfortable with if no one bid on it, to like raise the price of it without like crushing my soul a little for the amount of time that I put into it. So I did have, I think, a Dino Rex that I had done as part of my pattern test for LA Crochet. And it's super cute. I was very excited to put that as an item. And I think I had it at $20, maybe $25. And there was one bid. And that was fine. But typically, if I was selling that at a market, I'd probably be selling it for $35 or $40. And, you know, so you have to be ready to accept, like, that could go for the price that you put it up for. And if a lot of people like the idea of the $1 starting bids, you have to be ready to accept that it might just get a couple of bids and that it might be selling for a couple of bucks or whatever it is. So I started it at a price that I personally was okay with if I sold it at that price. So, you know, it wasn't ideal necessarily, but at the same time, the person who bought it had bought a ton of other things. So, you know, and you can also set it up where you were charging for shipping. You can do shipping based on where it's going to, like address. You can do it based on a flat fee across the board. You can do a flat fee plus each additional item costs something. You can do free shipping. I had mine set up as what I probably see most commonly, $5 for the first item, and every item thereafter is $2. I've seen $8, every item thereafter is $2. One thing that I do think is nice about that aspect of it, especially compared to like Etsy, it can help you cover more of the shipping and handling. Like it helps cover some of the packaging fees that I'm dealing with, especially with Etsy. You know, you're really encouraged to offer free shipping over $35. You know, that eats $5 to $6 each order that I take on Etsy that's over that amount. And again, I'm grateful for the orders and the fact that they came to my shop in the first place, but you're factoring that into the cost of your items across the board and what you're willing to list on your selling platforms and all of that stuff. So I think the nice thing about PalmStreet is the way that their shipping is structured. You can help to cover some of your costs for shipping and packaging. You can also, and I have not done this yet, but I've seen it on quite a few lives, and I think it would be fun to do on one of my next ones. You can have something that you literally just whipped up or that you didn't throw in your store, but someone's like, hey, don't you have XYZ? Oh yeah, let me grab it. And you can take a photo of that item right then and there and post it. So what I was advised to do by Teresa and Tabs was, you know, ask people if they're interested in doing bundles of things so that they can save on shipping. So for example, I could say, hey, does anyone want to do a bundle of safety eyes? If you have a few pairs that you're interested in, let me know and I can throw them on a card for you. And then I only charge you one instance of shipping versus you're adding to cart, adding to cart, adding to cart. And each item after the initial $5 is an additional $2. So I think with my first one, I offered it, but it was a little chaotic and I was frazzled and I didn't know what was happening. And so I wasn't pushing it enough where there were enough takers. But I think that would be something I would offer on future lives so that people aren't hit with as many shipping fees if they are looking to, like, I want a card of 6 different types of eyes and 2 of them will be this and 2 will be this and 1 will be this and 1 will be this. And then they're only paying $5 shipping versus, whatever it is for all of the additional items on an individual basis. So, that's, I think, something that's really cool if a shop or seller is offering that. And I imagine if you're in one of their live chats, they're probably willing to talk through some of those options as they're doing them. And again, if you're buying bigger items that maybe cost more to ship, if a seller is doing a flat fee of something, they're hopefully able to recoup their cost for shipping as part of what their fee structure is. But that's just something that you have to factor in when you're setting all of that up. So I think that my live had the success that it did because I was offering items that were not strictly crochet. I did sell some crochet items that I was very excited to sell. I also did include crochet items as giveaways, and I had a couple of auctions. And generally, all of that really met my expectations of what I was hoping for. I brought a couple of my 3D printed eggs that have baby dragons in them. And one of them sold. And they used to sell really well at my markets and they just haven't recently. So I was like, well, why don't I bring one to my live? And it sold. So that was exciting because, I'm able to get my product that I think can be unique and may not be seen in some forums or may not be appreciated in a busy live market where someone can see it on the screen and say hey, can you open that up and show it to me? And I was able to show them. I had a couple of them. So I showed them both dragons and I talked through this is why I came up with these colorways for this dragon. It made me think of Fourth Wing or whatever it might be. So, I think that there's definitely some pros for the platform for things like that, and to consider that as you're selling and coming up with what you want to focus on when you're there. I'm not saying that, I don't like PalmStreet. I really do like it for having the opportunity to continue to sell when you don't have markets. If you have a established viewership or base of people that are subscribed to you and that might be interested in your products enough to buy them, then that's fantastic. Give it a go, and give it a go even if you don't. You might find a lot of success on it. I just think that people need to make sure that they're adjusting their expectations as it hopefully continues to grow to where there's more people that are willing to come in and shop for crochet items versus being a lot of crocheters selling to other crocheters who may not be interested in buying these goods. So, making sure you're differentiating yourself. For my live, I wish I probably should have pulled a better report of this. They do have a few reports, but again, kind of going between the app and a computer and pulling them, there was only so much I wanted to deal with it. But I had, according to PalmStreet, I had 59 orders. Technically, I had 20 customers. So I had 20 customers that among them ordered 59 items. And some of those items, again, were giveaways, and those are counted towards the orders. People do pay, again, for shipping for those giveaways. You can set your precedent or your preference of how you want them to be structured, but I think it probably makes the most sense to say that a giveaway, the buyer will at least pay for shipping in it. And again, if they've already bought something, that means just the additional shipping fee. If they haven't bought anything at all, then, that could be whatever the initial flat fee is, $5, $8, whatever it's set up to be, unless you do free shipping. But, I think the giveaways, people can choose whether or not they want to participate in it and be put into the raffle that kind of happens for it. I think that's really neat. But overall, I had 59 items that I sent out. That doesn't include the stickers and buttons that I did as part of my like additional giveaways. I tried to go in and do a spin the wheel situation like I have at my markets of this is going to trigger an auction, or this is going to trigger a giveaway, or a free sticker with the next order that comes through, or random sticker drop in one of the orders in the queue. I had to like manually hold up my wheel because I didn't have like a tabletop to keep it on where it would be easily visible. Again, it's an app. I couldn't just move my camera. I had to move my whole like device, which was my iPad. So it just didn't work out well, and I ultimately just scrapped the wheel and kind of just asked people, should we do a giveaway now? But I made $587 total from my first PalmStreet. $406 of that was products. So all of the different eyes, amigurumi sticks, things like that. 181 was shipping. But again, that may not actually all have gone to shipping because it's the fee that you set up for your shipping. So I don't honestly know what my final shipping came out to because I had to do them as individual transactions since this was my first live and it doesn't have funds in your account for your first live. That was kind of strange. So, you know, I wasn't crazy about that. I would have liked to have kind of bulk purchased my labels rather than individual transactions for 20 customers. But, you know, you'll deal with that when you get to that spot. And I guess it's a good problem to have. So I could, again, go back and find what the actual shipping was. But what I took in as part of my total fees was $181 of that was shipping and handling. So minus fees and taxes, so again, $587 as that total, my income that I got minus the fees and taxes that were taken out was $510.95. So, you know, 70-ish dollars was fees and tax. People have said that the fees on this are better than Etsy. I did not look at the breakdown of which was their fees, which was taxes. I did at one point, but I don't remember off the top of my head. So, you know, it's still $70 out of 587 is a good chunk to be taken out. I'm sure the majority of that is tax, but you know, that's just something to factor in. And that's money that was a 2-hour show. So I pretty much went like just 5 minutes shy, I think, of a 2-hour show. So 2 hours to make that was fantastic. And yes, it felt very awkward. I, again, felt like I was just talking to the screen in the chat. I had it on my iPad, and it's hard to keep track of like the feed of who's coming into your show, the feed of the conversation that's going on, having to remind people, hey, if you said something and I missed it, like say it again so I can see it. You kind of have to be going through a lot of things all at once when you are doing this. And at the same time, you're setting up an auction, you're turning on a giveaway, or there's stuff like that that's taking place. I can definitely see it getting easier with time, but it was a lot to juggle with on my first one. And I do feel far better prepared for future ones. And I do think I will have future ones. So I actually have one this Wednesday, the 20th of August at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I will be doing one, and I'm going to focus again primarily on crochet tools and tools for crocheters, because I think that's more of what my audience will be within PalmStreet. They do have incentives. If you hit 100 likes or saved bookmarks of your event, they reduce your fees by like 0.5%. But the majority of people that I see on there aren't hitting 100 bookmarks. I think I had about 40 something for my first show, which was really exciting. But part of that was big social media pushes, as well as I had happened to join Ally Crochet's Patreon right beforehand. And in her Patreon, there's a chat channel where you can share your socials. And I mentioned I'm doing my first PalmStreet, and I had a bunch of people from the Patreon that supported me through that, and I'm so thankful for it. And I think it is a really cool platform and a way to do this stuff. I just want to be sure people aren't going in with these crazy expectations from these shows that I've seen where, people are putting in their time and they're wondering where the actual buyers are. So, um, part of the reason I think some of us are on there is there aren't markets that we're willing to go to because it's too hot, they get rained out, whatever it might be right now. So I'm curious to see how it'll continue to go in the fall. I think it's great if you can't make it to a market, you can't get into a market, and you're able to pivot and go onto PalmStreet and do a live event. I think that's really cool. They also do purges where you can kind of do, I guess, like a flash sale within PalmStreet. I haven't tried it. Honestly, like, I'm hesitant to lower the price of my crochet plushies because I feel like, and I've heard this discussed recently, and I can't remember who said it, but we really undervalue the price of our time when we're making crochet plushies. A lot of time, and when we're selling things, like, we may not be charging what it is actually worth in terms of the time and the hours that we're putting into it and our materials and time and all of that versus like what someone will actually pay for it. So, doing, for example, a store that has the consignment option, they're taking 40% of your sale. I'm not doing a 40% upcharge on my pricing currently for my plushies because I don't think that they would sell. So if I was going into a store and paying a 40% fee from, my sales, like, I would not be covering my costs of me making a plushie. So, I don't know enough about purges to explain how that works, but I would just probably be a little hesitant to do a purge on my crochet plushies in particular because of the time it takes that goes into them and what I'm pricing my stuff at to be competitive within the market. So I did have a lot of fun on my PalmStreet overall, and I had so many people come out and support me, which was so wonderful because I was so nervous. And to have, Tabs and Teresa, who again, like, coached me through it and were telling me, make sure you do this, and, chiming in occasionally, people hit that heart button, share the post or whatever. Like, it was just wonderful to have their support. Morgan came in for a little bit and participated, so that was really fun, especially, again, being kind of the pioneer in PalmStreet. It was just fun interacting with people where I've had issues on my YouTube lives in interacting because, like, this connection's not great. People can't hear me. The video keeps getting dropped, whatever it might be. Like, I felt like that was at least really solid within PalmStreet, and I would love to do it again from that perspective. As part of that, one of the discussions was, why go live on YouTube when you're having the same experience? But with PalmStreet, you can turn that into a potential sale. So yeah, it's fine if you just want to go on to YouTube and, like, chat with people. But if you're already making something that someone in your audience would be interested in buying, why not then turn that into a PalmStreet live? So an example of this, I needed to assemble some of my amigurumi sticks. They were already assembled, but I needed to pair them because when I finish making them, I kind of pair them up and then throw them aside until I can actually, like, glue them and package them. So I need to do that final step. And I was like, let me go ahead and go live while I do this. So I will find my pairs, I'll be gluing them, I'll be packing them. And each time I finish one, I can share it to my screen. And if someone wants to buy it, that's fantastic. If they don't, like, we're just having a little chat. So I think that's a great opportunity to use it. If you're someone that just likes to crochet and chat through a live, you could do that. And when you finish a project, you can say, does anyone want this? If not, it's going in my market basket and I'm going to go work on my next project. So I think that there's some really fun ways to use PalmStreet as a resource for selling. I said a lot. I know that was very wordy and probably a little scattered. This is what was going on in my brain as I've been trying to like gather my thoughts about PalmStreet as a whole. So I hope that was helpful. But I do want to share, again, like it was a very successful first PalmStreet. And I have some order packing footage that I happily will share, especially if you're a person who likes to go through and just kind of work on a project while you're watching a video. I'll put on some fun tunes to go with that footage, and let's go on to that. These are all of the packages that I have to pack and mail out from my PalmStreet. So I already have one because I filmed a separate reel for that one, but super successful first PalmStreet Live.
your day? I don't know if I'm interrupting what you say. I've got to know if I've been MIA. I can make it up to you right now. What you say, you should know. I see more life when I'm with you. Time after time, I feel alive when I'm with you. Everything stops for a moment, but only for a moment. So I could take this time to enjoy my view. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see more life when I'm with you. Don't be frowning, baby. You know I love you time and time again. Yeah. I've been trying lately, but I'm not perfect. I've been searching, then you came into my life. So I'm done making my mind up now, 'cause you've been spinning my head around. I only want you, baby, that's the truth, 'cause I see more life when I'm with you. Time after time, I feel alive when I'm with you. Everything stops for a moment, but only for a moment. So I could take this time to enjoy my view. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see more life when I'm with you.
This is everything all packed up and ready to go to UPS and USPS tomorrow. Pretty amazing for my first PalmStreet Live. I hope this video was informative, especially if you're thinking about doing PalmStreet. Again, I fully support it and think that it is a good option. I just want people to go in informed of what it is, because I think a lot of people are like high expectations of this could be fantastic. My first market, I'm going to break these numbers. And I just think that, you know, the platform needs some more time and needs to build their audience. And it can only do that as it's like shared more and more and used by others. So just some things to consider when you're looking at going into PalmStreet, if you are. I don't know what the other options are for other countries. I'm sorry. I have seen people asking, like, what is something similar that's in XYZ country? I don't know. But, you know, just some points to think about as you're looking into this. I also promise that I will be back to my regular content after this video. So I have a market coming up this weekend. I'm panicking a little bit, mostly from the perspective of it's a very small space for me. It's 6 by 6 corner. So, you know, two sides are going to be inaccessible to customers. So I did do a run through of what my setup's going to look like. Shocking. I actually did that this time. But I'm probably more so panicked because of that. So I'm kind of frantically trying to figure out some things to make sure that I have the most visibility into my booth and make it most accessible for people who are looking to shop while being in such a small space with the sheer quantity of things that I'm bringing, because I cannot streamline my goodies. So there's going to be another video coming up in this week or the next week. First of all, like the final market prep, all the things that I did. I'll walk you through kind of my rationale as I built out this market prep dry run, and then the market results themselves. So I am excited. I feel like this kind of kicks off my fall markets. I know it's early, but it's October for me, and I am embracing fall. It was really cool here in Raleigh, North Carolina, like last week and the week before. Like very weird how cool it was, because normally it's a surface of the sun, and it was in the 70s. And now it's back to being closer to the surface of the sun. It's not as bad, but you know, it definitely was feeling like fall for a moment, and I really just leaned into that. So, you know, I've got some fun makes coming up in addition to the market prep and recaps that's going on. I have a couple more collections that I have been working on to share. Thank you to everyone who supported my pattern launch, both from testers, from people buying my pattern. You can find it over on Ko-fi, Ko-fi. That was just really exciting. And honestly, I already have another pattern in mind that I'm starting to noodle with that I will work on once this market is past this weekend. But lots of fun things planned. So if you're interested, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you hit the bell, you'll be notified when my next videos pop up. And hit that like if you enjoyed this. I really appreciate you all for being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.